In my original concept, Who Pushed Your Button was supposed to be taking a look at various things that have been included as ads among the channels that I watch. The first one I was going to do was Great Harvest Church. That didn't work out exactly like I wanted. I'll keep an eye out for them in the future, but for now we've got to move on. The second channel, which had decided to promote themselves via a full-length video, was RedIceTV. They're someone I was already aware of, as I'm sure you are too. If not, I'll do a video about them as an organization later, if there's any interest in such a thing. The concept has shifted a little now, but Red Ice, or its public face, Lana Lokteff, is still going to be my next target. Let's see where we agree and disagree with Lana Lokteff in this list of things that make you a far-right extremist.
What is an extremist? You probably had a picture in your head the moment I said that, and for many...
Sorry, but I couldn't point out enough that this guy is a US representative and a guy who asked, why is white supremacy such a bad term? Steve King, supremacist apologist, followed in a couple of seconds by pictures of Bolsonaro from Brazil and neo-Nazis in Charlotte. Yeah, I'm going to give props to the mainstream media for calling it what it is, right-wing extremism.
It was probably one put in your head by the media. So what is the quality or state of being extreme? Well, it all depends on who you ask.
Not even 30 seconds in, and Lana can't keep from lying. No, Lana, that isn't how words work. If it were, there would be no need for a dictionary. But we do have dictionaries, so let's take a look. Hell, the first thing that comes up when I put in extremism definition is a definition from the Google Dictionary, which tells a slightly different story. The problem with your definition at its core is that it's incomplete. You can't define a word by using its base. A baker is not simply one who bakes. If that were the case, we call tanning salons bakeries. In a like fashion, the quality or state of being extreme is an incomplete definition. Or will you tell me that the quality or state of being involved in an extreme sport makes one an extremist? Even if we were to adopt the most charitable reading of her definition, it still paints her at the fringe of political opinion. So this is her insidious way of beginning to shape her narrative away from reality by reframing the debate so that her extremist views aren't the ones in question, with a few notable exceptions. Make no mistake, she is a far-right extremist. Oh man, this is going to be long. Longer than you know, because I've had to start like 5 times.
If you ask me, a man cutting off his genitals, for instance, that's extreme. Or a person who hates their own nation and wants to replace their own people with foreigners, that is also extreme. But if you ask a communist,
these people are communists.
Anyone who opposes whatever they want is an extremist.
Where are these communists? Besides Richard Wolff and Slavoj Zizek? Man, I butchered that. Can you name any? If your answer is Barack Obama, I'll kindly ask you to go sit down and let the big people talk. More importantly, how much power do they have to enact change? I'll tell you, 0. On the other hand, it is notable that you flashed a picture of white supremacist Congress critter Steve King. They have more power by far than communists. Not to mention, I'll just wait for you to bring it up, and I know you will. By the way, communist isn't enough. What kind of communists are we talking about? Stalinists aren't the same thing as Trotskyites, aren't the same thing as Leninites. Also, the SocDems, the DemSocs, the Socialists, and the Communists all get along fine, as far as I can tell.
This pejorative word extremist is pretty new and mostly used to describe political matters.
First, and apart from the rest of it, is your use of the word pejorative. The insinuation is that pejorative is itself a pejorative, but it's a description. When you're called an extremist, it's not because you want to be part of a knitting circle. It is pejorative because society at large views extremists as counterproductive to society. The two sources that I have both give a date around the middle of the 1800s. Not exactly new. And then there's the Google Ngram viewer. Why are you so bad at this, Lana? This word existed long before the rise of right-wing extremism. It existed long before there was even such a thing as a political left or right.
Almost always used to attack one group, white people. In fact, I think this word was created simply for that purpose. Could we all agree that blowing up a building or hijacking a plane is extremist? Actually,
Boy, there's a bunch to unpack here. First, we have her first indication of what she considers part of the in-group. Dun dun dun. White people. More on that later. To address her point directly, though, let me say that, second, just because the majority of right-wing extremists are white, doesn't mean that the majority of whites are right-wing extremists. Don't tell me I've got to teach you that. Third, did you notice that in the last point I put a qualifier in front of my terms? Majority. That's because we have the case of Jesse Lee Peterson, a real-life Uncle Ruckus. Really? If white men get angry, we're going to have a Christchurch-type shooter over here? Can't you tell? There are already Christchurch-type shootings going on, like Dylan Roof. Fourth, not all right-wing extremists are white. The examples of Islamic fundamentalist terrorists that you use were also right-wing terrorism, just of a different ethnicity.
we can't. Just ask open communist and retired professor Bill Ayers, founder.
Good for you. You can name one more. I know what you're going to say, but let's let you just go ahead and say it before I respond.
Of the Weatherman, a faction of Students for a Democratic Society, who carried out a campaign of bombings in the 70s against U.S. government institutions. Yes, he's an actual terrorist who brags about it, never spent time in jail, writes articles for mainstream media, and worked in education reform. He's also
Sorry, had to stop you again. So sorry. Not a terrorist. In 1973, new information came to light about FBI operations targeted against Weather Underground and the New Left, all part of a series of covert and often illegal FBI projects called COINTEL. Due to the illegal tactics of FBI agents involved with the program, including conducting wiretaps and property searches without warrants, government attorneys requested all weapons-related and bomb-related charges be dropped against the Weather Underground, including charges against Ayers. How much do you want to bet that if anyone had died as a result of his actions, the results would be the same? Yeah, I didn't think so either.
also friends with Hillary and Obama and whines about far right-wing terrorism. He claims that left-wing terrorism doesn't even exist.
With the exception of a few ecologically motivated activists in the 90s and that guy who shut up the baseball field that Steve Scalise was on, no, there really aren't any in the U.S.
We never, ever hear about far-left extremism and terrorism because unhinged, radical lefty terrorists are in charge. Yet article after
Citation needed. Really, really, really badly.
lying article is published on the threats and fears of far-right extremism, the most deadly of all things.
I really don't think right-wing extremism in a relative sense is all that deadly. Heart disease and cancer definitely outpace your brand of crazy in the death count numbers. But scientists are on those problems. Right-wing extremism is a philosophy that I am particularly equipped to dismantle, however. And we still haven't gotten to the list of things that you say denote extremism in people.
Today, though, any white or even questionable white-looking man who commits some kind of a
Yet another person who isn't white but is associated with right-wing extremism, Cesar Sayoc.
white extremist. Cambridge says an extremist is someone having beliefs that most people think are unreasonable and unacceptable. Well, guess what? If all your ancestors were alive today, they'd say that the majority of modern day politics is insane, the extreme opposite of what they all believed. And this applies for all races.
I know you keep going on about what great people our ancestors were, but if you go back a couple hundred years, you discover just how shitty all of our ancestors were. Our moral systems have improved along with our material circumstances, but much still needs to be done. This last bit of information is one that you in particular take issue with. You think that sometime during the Revolutionary War period or some such, people had far superior moral sensibilities. I can't even tell you the myriad of ways that you're wrong, and our moral systems have improved. Well, most of our moral systems. Some people seem to be stuck in a bygone era.
What was considered basic common sense, understood by most of the world, and definitely in the West until just recently, is now labeled radical far-right extremism. Why?
I can't believe I'm going to have to make the same argument here that I saw Suris make in a video discussing Christian apologetics. Common sense is a weak argument for truth. What is common sense today will be barbarity in 100 years. It is subjective. Our understanding of the world and our place in it is constantly improving. As long as that remains a factor, then our common sense will change too. As well, nobody is saying that any of those things, tradition, Western civilization, or common sense, is bad in and of itself. It always depends on the context in which the phrase or statement is used. Something you seem to be utterly unaware of.
Why? Because neo-communists control the media. In reality, we live in a day of radical leftist extremism pushed as something completely normal, in attempts to destroy and upset a natural order that has existed since the beginning of time. The left.
It's truly amazing that someone like Lana can say so much so wrong in so short a time. 18 seconds. Okay, I can't help but laugh as I try to imagine any type of communist who is controlling the media as a hegemonic entity. Every single person who is the CEO of a media company, especially in the US, is standing squarely on the side of capitalism. It also depends on what you think of as leftism and whether anything that you've said is true. It isn't. The media is trying to convince the general public that there's no need to panic, that Trump is a normal candidate, and that everything will be okay. Leftists are definitely not feeling that vibe. And oh yeah, since the beginning of time? What is that natural order? Are you just ignoring the history of GRSM folks from the way back? I thought you were all about remembering your ancient history. Don't read about the Roman Empire. And what about Solomon's wives? There is no natural or traditional way of doing things that is endured from time immemorial.
Left has shifted the dialogue so extremely far into their own insanity that any sort of basic normalcy is deemed far-right extremism.
It isn't the left calling anyone who disagrees with them to be far-right extremists. It is you trying to convince everyone else that when we call out your white supremacy, we're talking about everyone else too. We're not. Those white families you're trying to hide behind, most of them would find you equally repugnant. Additionally, the evidence that we have on the matter suggests exactly the opposite. According to the data presented by Joseph Overton, the window in which things are seen as worthy of discussion has shifted so far to the right that we are now talking about a Heritage Fund-supported healthcare plan as a socialist giveaway. So the takeaway is that anything to the left of this plan is just unthinkable. And this is just one instance. 40 years of Republican support for the most extreme positions, coupled with Democratic acquiescence, and this broken government is a result.
In truth, boys and girls, your grandparents and everyone before them all used to think like me. They weren't soy-eating liberals calling for open borders. You may think you're beyond the left-right paradigm or that you swing on different issues, but it doesn't work that way anymore. Because if you don't agree with everything the left wants, you are a far-right extremist. And for me, I could care less what a bunch of lefties think about me. Not pleasing them is doing the right thing.
Again, there's a bunch to unpack here, and I think I've hit upon the reason, and it pairs well with the insidious nature of what she's trying to convince you. Her views are, by design, extremely wide and extremely shallow, at least insofar as they are stated in this video. This is a teaser video to see if you'll surrender your ability to question and reason. Once you followed her further down the rabbit hole, her views get more and more explicit. Anyway, she's trying to convince you, yet again, that the far left views everyone who disagrees with them as far right. The rest of her statement is a combination of two fallacies: an appeal to authority, your grandparents, and an ad hominem, albeit a weak one. If not pleasing leftists is the right thing, then why are you so mad? I can guarantee that you haven't pleased anybody from the left. The truth is, you do want liberals, not leftists, on your side. Otherwise, why make this video?
So, if you say yes to any of the following, you might be a super duper radical far-right extremist and put on a terrorist list by the FBI.
So, you're saying that anybody who disagrees with any of the following should be treated like they were, say, Cesar Sayoc? Take it under advisement. And now, finally, we get to our actual list. I mean, 3 minutes and 50 seconds isn't that long a time, unless you had to do this like 7 times to get here. So, yeah, I can't believe how long it's taken us to get here. Anyway, because of the nature of what she's about to do, my answers will be equally and appropriately as long as the queries themselves. What she is about to do is something known as the Gish Gallop, named for a tactic perfected by Dwayne Gish, almost always used to defend Christian apologetics. Buckle in, it's likely to be a bumpy ride.
Do you see that men and women are biologically different?
Yep.
Do you say there are only 2 genders, not 57?
No to both. Too low and too high, respectively. Probably.
Like to work out and stay fit?
Not particularly, but it doesn't bother me when someone does.
Are you a man who's unapologetically masculine?
There is a difference between masculinity and the toxic variety. I mean, there are tons of videos about it. I don't want to have to do another one.
If you hate soy products.
I could take it or leave it personally, although I do like edamame.
If you eat meat.
Yep. I love a nice cut of meat.
A good old rub. That's it. Yeah, boy.
Are you a woman who enjoys looking soft and feminine and wants to be pretty for men? Do you laugh?
No, but I know some guys who do. Live and let live, I always say.
At dumb things feminists do and say.
We need to kill all men. I am sick of being a baby factory that produces more men that will just subjugate me. Kill male babies, kill any man that you see, like in the streets, like any swinging just kill him.
It might be a supposed parody, but it is a definite satire. Swiftian in nature, I'd say.
Have this haircut? Wear braids?
I do have that haircut, just a longer version. Do you think it will look good in braids? I don't know.
Do you want a lot of European babies?
I'm trying really hard not to curse, but what the? Everyone knows Asian babies are far superior.
Oppose the mass murdering ideology of communism? Do you laugh when someone starts talking about Karl Marx?
Stalinism, not communism. And on some issues, yes.
If you oppose full-on open borders.
No, that's not an idea most people on the left favor yet. Specifically though, Tel Aviv, the West Bank, etc., yeah, that's most definitely an idea of which we're in favor. And that's what you have right there. Tel Aviv. I mean, geez.
Don't trust the government? Yeah, extremist.
This government, way less than I did, which wasn't really that high to begin with. Why are you showing a headline about the fact of increasing right-wing attacks? Doesn't help your cause very much.
Do you understand that people actually do conspire plot and plan in secret?
I'm assuming you speak from personal experience. I mean, of course I do. It happens all the time. But nothing like the Illuminati or the Freemasons or any of that crap. So, no.
Are you against ethnic and cultural genocide and the replacement of a native people in their own country, including white people?
Watch Sean's video on the Great Replacement. In short, it's not happening.
If you think races are biologically different.
That is a racist belief. Yes. As was that guy, James Watson. It wasn't baseless that his titles were taken away, and they were only honorary titles.
Do you celebrate Yule, Ostera, and other ancient European
You do you, boo.
traditions? If you talk about Norse gods and goddesses or anything pagan.
Ah, I see. Because you wouldn't be able to celebrate it in the Norse way. Unless it's something else. It wouldn't be anything else, would it?
Do you like camping, nature, and hiking?
I was a scout. Of course I enjoyed those things.
Do you attend a Christian church?
Not personally, but going to one doesn't make you automatically a bad person.
Are you part of an exclusively guys club that likes to do
Yep, I would say the Proud Boys are definitely the poster children of far-right extremism.
guy things? Part of a nuclear family?
Nope.
Homeschool your kids? Disgusted by pedophiles?
Don't have any. And yes.
Against children learning about anal sex in the 5th grade? Or about them learning about it at all? Are you
I'd have to see what exactly was in the curriculum, but yeah, I'd be okay with that if I had kids.
a housewife who likes to cook and clean? Are you
No, yes, no. Happy?
against gang members freely walking across the border?
Not really fussed about it. There are people too, right?
You question everything you're told to believe by the mainstream media?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
Can you stay
Most especially, most definitely, Fox News.
Especially if you question things like slavery, colonialism, and anything else in the history books.
Have you read Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States? I question everything, but not in the way you do. Your insinuation is that slavery, colonialism, and history itself can't even be trusted to have even existed. You can be so transparent at times.
If you defend the right of free speech, do you see how hate speech is really totalitarian thought control?
You do understand the difference between thinking and speaking, right? Or are they one and the same to you? Apparently so. But this is one of your hidden, not so hidden beliefs, that free speech is a means to an end rather than an end in and of itself. And the end that you dream of will see the end of free speech as well.
If you plainly see that people aren't created equal,
Yes, I do. And you are clearly near the bottom of what I think of as sentient life. In all seriousness, though, that's why we need to enforce equality of opportunity in the United States.
laugh at white privilege and the invisible knapsack nonsense.
White privilege unpacking the invisible knapsack.
LOL!
White women are oppressive to work with.
If you're white,
That lady is Peggy McIntosh, and she deserves a hell of a lot more than a couple of laws. Check her TED Talk out if you dare. Links to both her talk and her Wikipedia page will be in the description.
and don't hate yourself. Or if you're white, straight, and Southern.
I just want to take time to say thank you for my family.
Shake and bake.
Dear Lord Baby Jesus, we also thank you for my wife's.
Okay, where do I go for my membership? Can I still be a member if I think that the workers should own the means of production? I mean, you now so diluted the meaning as to make it seem as if we, the society at large, are almost all considered right-wing, thereby making the left seem inflexible and intolerant, neither of which is true.
Father Chip, we hope that you can use your baby Jesus powers to heal him and his horrible leg. And it smells terrible, and the dogs are always bothering with it.
Are you white and unaffected by white guilt? Do you enjoy laughing at SJW fails compilations?
Not particularly.
Are you so bored of the words racist and Nazi and white supremacist? Do you...
No, but I do hate the fact that these words are still required, and that I'm required to say them so often when discussing people like you. I'll make a deal with you. You stop being a racist and white supremacist, and I'll stop boring you. What do you say? Yeah, I didn't think so.
question the word refugee and migrant or child refugees who look 35? Do you...
Not nearly as much as I question white as a descriptor of race. Really? Jeez.
Talk about globalist elites, bankers, corrupt politicians, and NGOs? Do you do?
No, you just sound a little loony and unable to accept the world as it really is. Also, when you start talking about globalists, etc., it is so obvious that you really want to say another group descriptor. Rhymes with pews.
Despise socialism. Talk about...
Are you also 65? Do you hate the people on your lawn? Would you like to have dinner at 4 o'clock? I mean, what are you talking about?
About the Constitution?
It amazes me the extent to which you revere the Constitution and at the same time do everything in your power to destroy it. So much for trying to make a more perfect union.
Do you think the Civil War wasn't about slavery? Do you think the South has a culture? Do you talk about how in the height of American slavery, only 6% of Southerners had slaves? Don't care to work.
The level of dishonesty in this one is deep. So very deep. Look at this video if you don't know why this is wrong. John Green goes into why slavery really sucked for everyone in his crash course history.
Worry about LGBTQ and other said victim groups?
The fact that this is a question tells me that yes, we do still need to worry about the GRSM community at large, alongside every other marginalized group.
If you just don't care about Muslims, Jews, Israel, and their foreign wars.
Why do we spend so much money on Israel? I've often heard people make this complaint. The truth is, we don't spend enough. We should spend more.
If you just don't think...
Yeah, we should care about both for a number of reasons. Of course, not for the reasons that you obviously do. Letting a little bit of your real colors fly, eh?
Think about anti-Semitism or the Holocaust. If you don't like Islam or Judaism, are you against a...
Well, I don't think about it every day, especially down here in the South. The Holocaust and anti-Semitism are definitely something that I think of as real. And we can still see the effects of it to this day. So, unlike your husband and yourself, I am not one of those who denies the Holocaust happened or happened less severely than it actually did.
Are you against America invading the world to bring liberal democracy?
Anakin, my allegiance is to democracy!
Yes, but again, not for the reasons you are.
Have you ever talked about the blatant theft and ongoing murder of white farmers in South Africa?
Nope, we've got enough problems at home, like you, Lana. And honestly, I don't know enough about this to speak intelligently about it. I'm gonna look to other people who have more of a stake in this.
Do you want to live in a nice white neighborhood with other nice white people? Or
Do you want to live in a compound filled with like-minded people? On a serious note, this is the kind of thinking that was prevalent in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s that led to things like redlining. I don't think that this is where we want to go.
Or are you a non-white and against whites becoming a minority in their countries because you too like to live in a nice white neighborhood?
There he is, Jesse Lee. In another video, we'll get into my characterization of his relationship with the far right. For now, Uncle Ruckus is enough.
Are you against globalists turning the West into a multicultural country for everyone, united by a shopping mall? If you
oh God, I don't even know where to start. Skipping over your use of the word globalist yet again. Who's talking about making the U.S. one big shopping mall?
If you don't want the entire West and really the entire world to be exactly the same in every way, yeah, me too. The next time a leftist or anyone else charges you for being a far-right extremist,
For someone who has a company motto of "the future is the past," you don't seem to have actually read the article in which it says that in the past, mingling and migration have been and will continue to be the key drivers to human success. All of a sudden it goes from leftist to leftist or anybody else. Curiouser and curiouser.
laugh in their face and say thank you, because it means you are a healthy human being living in the real world. You don't need to.
If someone calls you a far-right extremist, your reaction should be a thoroughgoing examination of yourself, not some flippant thank you. Oh, that's right, you're better than such a sordid thing as self-examination.
It is they who must be charged for being maniacs trying to destroy everything natural and consistent on planet Earth, that which always has and will exist. Nature didn't screw up. It is they trying to pervert normal impulses as something incorrect. Well, good luck with that.
I don't want to lose sight of what she was actually trying to do with that list. She was trying to say that anybody who agreed with any part of that list would be considered a far-right extremist. I agreed with a good portion of that list. I am nowhere near a far-right extremist. I'm nowhere near the right at all. So I don't really see how she accomplished what it was that she set out to do. Furthermore, that which always has and always will exist. This is the root of it all right there. Nothing can be proven to have always existed, much less proven that anything will have the potential to always exist. The true state of the world and universe is that there is nothing which exists which is impervious to change. Yet you need for it to be any other way to justify your moronic views on humanity. Have I mentioned how eerie it is finding how much of what I have to do is like responding to fundamentalist Christians? It is. And the same to you. You're gonna need it. You see, what insists me about this video is that on first watch it seems almost reasonable. I even agree with some of her points, at least provisionally. It's only with a practiced eye and ear that you even begin to pick up on the utter horseshit coming out of her mouth, because she packages it in such a way as to make it palatable. Kind of like the old practice of making stew with meat that is slightly gone. I don't want to give the impression that because the ideas which she holds are abominably bad that I think Lana is a stupid person. On the contrary, I think that she's an accomplished and extremely intelligent individual. Notice what I did there? Bah, you can all go to Valhalla for all I care. Anyway, that's it for the moment about Lana Lokteff. If you'd be interested in seeing more of my content and to always be notified of anything new I put out, hit the like and subscribe button. If you'd like to help me continue improving my channel, please consider visiting my Patreon page and becoming a patron for as little as $1 monthly, or to my PayPal account for a one-time donation. You can find me on Twitter or Facebook under the name PanicClown. Thank you to all the people who've encouraged me. I literally couldn't do it without you. Catch you guys on the flip side.